Raider Nation. Thank you for joining us on the Only Nation podcast, brought to you by the Raider Ramble. My name is Heidi, but you may know me as Kevlar Prom Dress or even Raider Ladybug. I'm here with Raider Homer and T3 Raider Facts, and we're ready to talk some Raiders football together.
Always ready to talk Raider football, and we're getting closer and closer to the season, so I'm getting more and more excited as we get there.
Hello, Heidi and Homer, and I hope the entire Raider Nation had a restful and thoughtful Memorial Day.
Absolutely.
I have so far. It's been a good day. Been a real good day for me.
Well, let's raise a glass to it.
Yes. Let's raise a glass to Heidi. Hear, hear.
Hear, hear.
We should add that to every show.
There we go.
Every episode, raise a glass to Heidi.
Come on, you got 2 segments dedicated to you now.
Oh, details. Anyways, so our listeners know I've mentioned a couple times I am selling my house and moving. It actually went on the market Friday morning and Monday morning at 7 a.m. I signed the final paperwork to start escrow tomorrow. So super fast sale. Really excited. We are going to have to take a couple weeks off of the podcast in about a month because I will be traveling very, very far away. But, it's only going to be a temporary state. I will be settling in. And once I get settled in, we will be right back on the grind.
All right, good. Yeah, I don't want you to quit, please. Don't quit the podcast.
Oh, definitely not. But while this podcast will be on, like I said, probably a couple week hiatus because it'll take me about a week to drive to where I'm headed. Raider Homer still is going to have his show on Monday nights on YouTube. And T3 Raider Facts has his show on YouTube, the Raider Roots podcast. So you'll still be getting lots of Raiders news from us. It's just this show is just going to go on a hiatus for a couple weeks. That's it.
Yeah, but when we come back, we will come back strong.
Yes, and we'll be getting pretty close to the season. So I'm excited.
All right, Raider Nation, be sure to contact us at 904-701-8667. Even during the hiatus, we want to hear from you. If you have any ideas for segments or any questions for us, we want to hear from you. You can also email us at theonlynationpodcast@gmail.com and make sure you follow us on Twitter and Instagram at OnlyNationPod. Our YouTube channel is the Only Nation Podcast. Make sure you subscribe there. We really appreciate the support. And be sure to like and subscribe to us on all your favorite social media accounts and podcasting apps. Don't forget to send us a message with your name and address, and we'll get you a free sticker.
Sounds like a plan. All right, today on the show, we've got the latest Raiders news and some discussion on issues that are going to affect the NFL as a whole. And T3 is also introducing a new segment, which is inspired by Raider Homer himself.
Ooh, how'd I do that?
Yes.
Can't wait.
You were just yourself. Just came to him.
Cool.
Like magic in a dream.
Awesome, I can't wait.
All right, the latest Raiders news. Nexstar Broadcasting and the Raiders, they reached a multi-year deal on content partnership, preseason broadcast rights with TV stations in Los Angeles, the Bay Area, Salt Lake City, Honolulu, and Bakersfield. They have become the official home of Raiders football in their local markets. The agreement includes the preseason games, pre-draft special, the season preview, the Silver and Black show, the regular season post-game shows, and exclusively produced stadium programming. A lot of that programming is actually going to be recorded at the Raiders studios in their new headquarters at the team's Intermountain Healthcare Performance Center. So a lot of that's going to be in-house, and it's going to go out to all of those stations, and that's going to be really cool.
And I have heard that facility is just freaking awesome.
Man, where do I apply? I want in.
I think you got to move to Vegas, Homer.
I'm thinking about it. Don't tempt me.
Because they actually have had openings in their media and internet division. I've seen a couple of them.
Man, I would be their janitor. Just let me in.
Hey, let's just open up a real world house with Homer, Heidi, and T3.
All right, let's do it.
In Vegas.
Vegas, baby. Viva Las Vegas.
That would defeat the purpose of me moving to Alaska.
Oh, the secret's
Yeah.
out.
There we go.
You let the cat out of the bag, not me. Yes.
The Great
Yeah,
White
it
North.
hasn't been a real secret.
Oh, man, I cannot wait to hear the podcast coming out of Alaska.
It's going to be lit. It's going to be really lit. It's going to be
Lit.
really lit in the summer because there's no nighttime. It's all daylight.
That's right.
At least staying up, at night is going to be actually, daylight.
Yeah. Well, I have the place I'm renting is the basement suite. So it's actually going to be pretty easy to black out those tiny little windows. I'll be pretty happy there.
She's going to be able to reach up and touch the satellite.
What'd you say, Homer?
No wonder you're a Raiderette.
That's right. And I've already decided that I am painting my main room the colors that the draft was, the black and that yellow, that fluorescent yellow. It's going to be my main room.
With a picture of Bill Belichick's dog on the wall.
Of course. I'm having it commissioned. It's going to be giant. It's going to be like a 16 by 20.
Man.
Sitting
You know
in
what?
the chair.
A man like Bill Belichick does not deserve a dog that cute.
I agree.
All right. Anyways.
A lot of people would argue and say that he doesn't deserve those Super Bowls either, but that's a topic for another episode.
Ooh, we're going to have Raider Bear on one day just to discuss that.
I'll have to turn the volume down, but yeah, I'm down with that.
Yeah, I might have to get out my little bleep machine if we do that.
Yeah, he's going to be clipping a lot. It's all right. We'll take care of it in post-production.
Yeah. AT3, do you have any update on what we talked about last week with the Rooney Rule and the inclusion and diversity issues that they were talking about addressing?
Well, I will tell you that the proposal to improve a team's draft position by hiring minority candidates for coach or GM was not passed.
Good.
It was defeated. There are some other interesting changes, though, and things that they are putting together. And I will admit, after our conversation we had last week, they did make an enhancement to the Rooney Rule. Now they're going to be required to interview at least 2 external minority candidates for head coach vacancies and at least 1 minority candidate for any of the 3 coordinator vacancies and at least 1 external minority candidate for the senior football operations or general manager position. So they are moving in the right direction.
Sounds reasonable. And they're also moving that Rooney Rule more into the front offices, aren't they?
They are. Again, as I mentioned previously on our podcast last week, Goodell has really been stepping on his own feet a lot, and he has not gotten a lot of good publicity. But again, I think his heart is in the right place, and the NFL is gradually starting to move into the right direction. But again, until you have all 32 owners agree that things are going to globally change across the board, things will not change.
Makes sense. That's agreeable. It's a fair assessment. It's a shame that even in 2020, this has to be a discussion. But at least we are making some progress and having to use these rules to open it up for more people. At least they're being opened up.
I think the conversation will continue to evolve until or unless we get to the point where we have minority ownership and when it becomes more than just one.
Yeah, that's what I was just going to say. It's going to take a major cultural change inside the NFL where you have black owners hiring black coaches and whatnot. That's what it's going to take, though. And that's coming around the corner, I believe. Ronnie Lott was trying to get into it. He was getting pretty close. There's moves being made, and as owners move on, they're going to leave the doors open.
And I keep pushing this, too. I would not discount female ownership as well.
Right. And we actually do have some women who are high up in ownership as far as teams go, but they're usually like matriarchs of a family.
Like Carol.
Right. People who grew up or married into the team and they've been with that team for 50 years or whatever.
Carol.
Okay, Carol.
Oh, my bad. I was just thinking, that's a cool thing, now that we're on the topic, we have, technically the first female owner, or one of the first, right? I guess the other wives would have been in the same spot, but we have one, we have a female owner at this point. That's kind of cool.
There's one lady, she grew up in one of the owner's families.
Now, Georgia Rosenblum, for years, she was Carol Rosenblum's wife. And then when he died, she kind of took over ownership of the Rams. And it was principally involved with moving them to St. Louis.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, I'm thinking, I cannot remember her name, but she was on one of the NFL specials not too long ago as the only woman who has been at every single Super Bowl. Do you guys remember that?
No.
The only name that's coming to my mind is McCaskey, who was with the Bears, but I'm not sure that's it.
It just goes to show there are women who are involved in ownership, but it's still definite minority. But that might be one of the first ways that minority or female candidates do start getting included more in these positions.
It's coming, though. It has to be. You know, our society is a lot more open than what it used to be on a day-to-day basis. So it's just a matter of, you know, time, really, because people today want it to happen, you know, and they think that it needs to happen. They believe that it needs to happen. So it will happen. Just hopefully, like I said, sooner than later.
I think as long as we just all acknowledge the fact that even though we've made progress and change has happened, we still have far to go.
Right.
True.
I think that's pretty fair to say that.
All right, so a little bit of roster news. We have waived cornerback Nick Nelson, who was selected in the 4th round of our 2018 NFL draft. He was released with an injury destination. He, of course, played in 12 games over the last 2 years. He was a Reggie McKenzie pick. He did clear waivers, though, and he is back on the team on the practice squad. How do y'all guys feel about this?
Well, we just add him back to an already crowded defensive backfield room. And again, we've added a lot of pieces to that room, and we'll talk about another piece we've added in just a few minutes. But I don't have really any feeling about this addition one way or the other, to be honest with you.
Actually, it's not the practice squad. It's more like an injured reserve squad. There's no practice squad in the off season at all. What will happen is that he will end up being given probably an injury settlement and release completely, and then he'll be able to sign on another team. But I never really understood his selection in the first place. I mean, the man never had an interception in college. I don't believe he had any interceptions in high school. He might have had one in the Pee Wee leagues. For a cornerback, it's not good to go through year after year after year without an interception. And he wasn't even fantastic in coverage. So I didn't understand picking him to begin with.
That's why I mentioned Reggie McKenzie. You know, he picked Hayden. Hayden didn't work out. He picked Nelson. It didn't work out compared to Trayvon Mullen. I mean, I'm glad to see that Mike Mayock is actually drafting players that are seemingly better than what Reggie McKenzie did.
I wish him well, but I heard on several other podcasts and actually other national media outlets as well that when Gruden came in, he didn't come in just to retool this roster. He came in to basically just blow it up. And again, that's what he's been doing. And with Mayock on board now, they're adding some good pieces. They added a lot of foundational pieces last year. They've added some more pieces this year, and they're going to continue to do that. So they are really on the right path.
Yeah. We are headed in a completely different direction now. Bringing Mayock on board made a huge difference. And a difference that I'm excited about.
Me too. Me too.
In another piece of Raiders news, I thought this was just a little bit of fun, I would mention it. One of our Raiders musical groups, RAIDERHED, they released a new song, and I just wanted to play a short sample of it. You might recognize the tune.
So excited by the colors we wear. Viva Las Raiders! Viva Las Raiders! We've got so much tradition and we think it's strong, and we live it every day. The black hole is rocking like an Elvis song every time the Raiders play. Fans from Oakland to LA and back. The strip is covered in silver and black, and I'm just screaming like a maniac.
Anyways, you get the idea. That is a new song, or a cover of an old song with a few new lyrics. Viva Las Raiders by RAIDERHED. And we will put up a link to that song so you can listen to it in its entirety.
Make sure y'all check out RAIDERHED. They have a Facebook group. You can find Michael Masonette on Facebook also. That's Stoner Dude. Those guys go all the way back to Oakland. You know, they were performing at the tailgates. You know, they have been involved with the Raider Nation for a long time. They were also a part of a podcast called Raider Fan Radio back in the day. They have had a huge influence.
The original Raider Fan Radio.
The original Raider Fan Radio. And they're back with that too. It's RaiderFanRadio.Vegas. So check them out. They're getting ready to go cover the team in Vegas, ground zero. So keep an eye out for RAIDERHED and RaiderFanRadio.Vegas.
And you know, for Raider fans all over the place, there is a really important link between the city of Oakland and Vegas. When you look at links between the two, there's a vital link right there. Music plays a big part of it, and RAIDERHED is really a part of Raider tradition.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
I plain just love their style. It's a fun style.
Yeah.
And I like the feel of it.
They call themselves a Raider tribute band, so they have a bunch of great songs.
Yeah, so check them out. We'll get that link up for you guys to check them out. All right, and that brings us to the second best part of the show. It's a segment. What?
No, hey. You're right. You're right. I'm just laughing.
All right, T3, why don't you bring us home?
All right, this is T3 Raider Facts with this week's version of Heidi's High Five. Number one, May 21st, we celebrated the birthday of legendary running back Pete Banaszak. He was brought in by the Raiders out of the University of Miami in 1966, and he played with the Raiders until 1978. He was affectionately known by his teammates as the Rooster, and he was right in the middle of the action in the famous Holy Roller play against San Diego. Number two, May 27th marked another Raiders birthday, receiver Mike Ciani. Mike was drafted in the first round in 1972 out of Villanova, the same school that produced Heidi's favorite, Howie Long, in the same draft that brought in Cliff Branch, who should be in the Hall of Fame. Now, a lot of people don't know this, but Mike actually finished second in the Rookie of the Year balloting that year behind Franco Harris. Number three, people have been asking where the colors silver and black came from. Well, Al Davis got the black from the legendary Army teams at West Point as he was growing up. But what I just recently found out is that the silver came from Al's love of the silver pants and helmets of the Detroit Lions. Number four, speaking of Al Davis, it's worth noting that the new Allegiant Stadium will not only be home to the Las Vegas Raiders, it will also be home to the largest 3D printed structure in the world. The 85-foot-tall Al Davis torch is made out of carbon fiber and aluminum. Number five, my new favorite hockey player is Ryan Reeves of the Las Vegas Golden Knights. And not just because he plays in Vegas, but because he's a huge Raiders fan and grew up watching them. He was recently interviewed about the Raiders, and he said, and I quote, "The product is always there. In Oakland, not the results they wanted the last couple of years, but it's a storied franchise, and you bring that to Vegas, and people will come and support," unquote. And that, my friends, is this week's version of Heidi's High Five.
Thank you. That was good.
I cannot wait to see that torch lit in Las Vegas. It was a beautiful sight to see in Oakland, and it's going to be even bigger in Vegas, so I can't wait.
It is going to be huge. I mean, prominent from everywhere.
And I didn't realize that the original flame is going to be at the Raiders' new headquarters.
Oh, yes. That's awesome.
Yeah, I was not aware of that. And one of my buddies, local buddies right now, only for another month, Michael Merkord, he is an encyclopedia of Raider knowledge, much like our friend T3. And I saw him post that, and I thought, dang, that's pretty cool.
That is.
All right, moving on with the last bit of Raiders news. When we waived Nick Nelson, that made room on the roster for another cornerback, Prince Amukamara. He was drafted in the 2011 NFL Draft in the first round by the New York Giants, and he played in Nebraska for college. He played out his full rookie contract, including the fifth-year option for the Giants, but he headed over to Jacksonville for his sixth season. Pretty uneventful year. After that year, he signed with the Bears, where he played for 3 years. He was cut as a cap casualty earlier this year, though. Career totals include 477 tackles, 6 forced fumbles, 2 fumble recoveries, 80 pass deflections, 10 interceptions, and 1 defensive touchdown. How do you guys feel about that move?
I like what he said about him choosing the Raiders, why he chose the Raiders. He chose the Raiders because of Gunther's press, bump and run, man coverage, and how he plays he calls aggressively. He calls the game aggressively. So I like that. I think that Prince Amukamara is just as good, if not better, right, than Eli Apple and Daryl Worley. So I still believe that Arnett can beat him out because he is 30, but I like having that security blanket at the number 2 cornerback position. I think it's very important because, like I said, Trayvon Mullen, I think he's going to be able to hold it down over there at the number 1, but the number 2 is a big question mark. And with Damon Arnett, he can definitely fill that in, and if he gets hurt, then we got Prince Amukamara. But it goes to show that these guys that we drafted, I think, the burden's not on them to start day one and perform. The Raiders are also bringing in guys that can do that, like Prince Amukamara, and let Arnett kind of learn the ropes a little bit. Last year, we needed our guys to step in and play well then. This year, we not so much, even though we want them to.
I love this signing, and to be honest with you, the longer the pandemic goes on, I would not be surprised at all to see Prince Amukamara lining up on day one, starting opposite Trayvon Mullen at the corner spot, and then Arnett coming in later.
Right.
Yeah.
And we haven't really gotten into what the pandemic is causing this episode because so many things have been so fluid. We could report on something, and by the time this show is edited and is uploaded, the NFL has completely changed directions. We are hoping that training camp will still start on time. It's probably not, but the NFL is proceeding forward on the assumption that they're going to have full stadiums this year. They will, of course, heed any medical advice and listen to the health departments. If they say do not have that, they will not have it. But they are still planning on having full stadiums. One piece of news that I thought was really interesting is that the state in New York has given clearance for training camps to begin. I thought that was surprising because New York had gotten hit so hard, but the country is opening up, and as part of that, the state of New York is as well. So it's going to be a little bit of wait and see right now to see what happens. But the NFL is still forging on.
Fingers crossed.
Well, that'll just give us the extra couple of weeks will just give us a chance to get resettled. And then when the NFL opens up, we'll open up and we'll be full ready to go.
Sounds like a plan.
So they're waiting on us.
Well, then I will drive faster.
There you go.
So there is a proposed rule change on changing the onside kick. Instead of having a traditional onside kick, the scoring team would get the chance for a first down on a 4th and 15 play from their 25-yard line. This could be done twice per game. Any thoughts on this potential change?
I really have mixed emotions on it. I understand where it comes from as far as player safety is concerned. I do know that kickoffs, even though they've made safety rules changes in them recently, they still remain a dangerous play. But there's so much of NFL tradition that would be lost. At least the onside kick would be replaced by something exciting. That's one thing I consider a positive. But I'm just thinking about, these sneak onside kicks throughout the history of the game. You wouldn't be able to have that anymore. And I don't know. I really have mixed emotions on it. I've heard really good feedback on it, that it's a really well-liked proposal, but I would have to warm up to it. I really would.
This is where me being the old guy, and again, I don't mind being called a boomer in this case situation, but I don't like this rule at all. I understand that the game needs to change, and there are times when you want to introduce something to try to either speed the game up or just dramatically change it or to gain more interest from different sides. But the kickoff is the kickoff. Here's the way I see it. When you're on offense, you have the ball. When you're on defense, you oppose the ball. And the kickoff is in between. And I don't like the change. I like the fact that when you line up to kick off, you could do an onside kick at any time.
Right.
Could the percentages go up with the 4th and 15? Possibly, but you're not on offense, you're not on defense, you're kicking the ball off. And that's something that I think fundamentally needs to stay a part of the game. Now, once again, am I receptive to change? Yes, in certain respects, but this is where you could probably look back and say, okay, you're just an old guy. Okay, boomer, I get it. And I'll be willing to be saddled with that, but I don't like this change at all.
I'd rather them adopt the XFL kickoff if you're concerned about safety. That seems like a much safer return. But at the same time, I don't want them to change it to this because players like, Devin Hester and Johnny Lee Higgins, right? That's their niche, so it would take players like that off the board, and I'd rather that not happen. But yes, player safety is a major concern, but there are other ways than just taking special teams away, altogether, pretty much. Or not altogether, but at least in this example.
There is nothing more exciting and more game-changing than a run back of a kickoff for a touchdown.
Right.
Yeah, like when Devin Harris took it from the 1, against the Broncos and ran it all the way back.
Or Jacoby Ford took it back
against the Chiefs.
The 2.
I mean, those are game-changing, momentum-shifting plays. I think that they need to respect that and then find a way to make it safer like the XFL did.
All right. So that would be a 3 thumbs down from us.
3 thumbs down. I like that.
And again, I agree that we should try other things, but again, this is something I think just should not be done.
Yeah, I don't like it either.
I'm a traditionalist. Changing that is just not a popular move with me. I love the game. I love the old style game. Let's keep it.
Yeah, they're already favoring the offense too much now, so it's changed the game a lot. So don't start taking away special teams. That would change it even more.
Hey, Homer, did you know?
Uh-oh.
So this is a new segment that we introduced, and basically it's called Hey Homer, Did You Know? It's a bite-sized segment that focuses on a bit of Raiders history that I bet Homer didn't know. So here goes with our first version of Hey Homer, Did You Know? So did you know that legendary guard Gene Upshaw was the center of a draft controversy in 1967? In the first common draft that included both the AFL and the NFL, the Raiders were picking 17th. Ron Wolf, the lead scout, really wanted Arkansas running back Harry Jones, but Al Davis wanted an offensive lineman specifically to handle the Kansas City Chiefs' Buck Buchanan. The Philadelphia Eagles, who were drafting 2 spots after the Raiders, also wanted Upshaw. Now, the coach of the Eagles actually contacted Upshaw and told him that he didn't want to go to the Raiders because the Raiders were, and as I quote, bad people, unquote. He even persuaded Upshaw to call Al Davis himself and tell him that he didn't want to play in Oakland, but instead wanted to go to Philly. The Eagles even drafted Harry Jones and tried to offer him as trade bait. And Commissioner Pete Rozelle, a personal friend of the Eagles coach, also called Al Davis and urged him to make the deal because he wanted to help out the Eagles. And that was just another log on the fire in the feud between Al Davis and Pete Rozelle. Oh, and by the way, Al didn't budge, Upshaw stayed, and Hall of Fame, baby. And that is this week's version of Hey Homer, Did You Know?
No, I did not know that, but I like this. I like learning. I did know that he's from Texas. Gene Upshaw is from Texas, and he is the great uncle to MC Square, Raider and MC Square. So, but that's a good little bit of information. Al Davis, yeah, he was going at it with the NFL. I love learning more and more about that dynamic, between Al Davis and Pete Rozelle. I love how it ended, right? With Al Davis moving, to L.A. and winning a Super Bowl, and then Rozelle having to hand him a trophy. And, of course, Gene Upshaw was there. So that's a cool little bit of Raider history right there, T3. I appreciate
right, and
it.
it falls into the category of Heidi did not know either.
What?
And we've got more coming.
What? Heidi didn't know?
Heidi didn't know. I love T3's bits of knowledge, little nuggets.
I have a lot of fun putting these together. I've already got the next 2 lined up.
All right.
Nice. Hey, in Raider Nation, if you have something, a little bit of information that you think I should know, or that we should know, or that you want the Raider Nation to know, give us a call at 904-701-8667 and leave a voicemail. We want to hear from you.
Maybe we'll even let them ask the question.
Yeah.
There
that'd
you
be
go.
Cool.
Call in, leave the question, we'll play it on the air. We'll let you stump Homer.
Not that hard.
Whatever. All right, and that brings us to the best part of the show. The most important segment. Yes, I'm full of it.
Dun, 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 dun.
Heidi's Heroes.
Do not play that again.
What? That's my theme.
I know, but not me singing it.
What we ought to do is we can see if we can get RAIDERHED to play a version of it.
Oh, that would be cool.
Ooh, that would be sweet.
Oh, I will ask him that. That's a good idea.
That would be nice.
It would. I would play that. I'd play the entire thing then.
Yeah.
Believe it or not, I'm walking on air. I never thought I could feel so free. Flying away on a wing and a prayer. Who could it be?
All right. Former Raider long snapper and two-time Pro Bowler Jon Condo has a passion for supporting the military. It stems from family ties, as both of his grandfathers served in World War II, and his brother-in-law, a retired lieutenant colonel, served in the Army. During his tenure with the team, which was 12 years, Kondo continually showed support for the community and the Raiders' military partners. In 2015, the Raiders launched the Raiders Foundation with the mission to support our military and families of fallen heroes. In recognition of Memorial Day and on behalf of the Foundation's mission back then, Kondo and his teammates welcomed 50 people from TAPS, the Tragedy Assistance Program for Survivors, to the Raiders Alameda facility for a tour and a meet and greet. He also attended the NFL Salute to Service Military Appreciation Breakfast for service members and their families in San Francisco during Super Bowl 50 week activities. Kondo took the stage to thank the military members and their families for their sacrifices for our country. Jon has also supported the Gala for the Sentinels of Freedom, nonprofit organization that assists severely wounded and injured post-911 veterans in their efforts to become productive and self-sufficient members of their communities as they transition back into civilian life. Additionally, he's also contributed and supported the Wounded Warriors. On top of his involvement with supporting the military, he has been very involved with his local hometown Emily Whitehead Foundation. The foundation seeks to find less toxic methods of fighting pediatric cancer. It is named after Emily Whitehead, the first child in the world treated with T-cell therapy for her cancer. She recently celebrated her 8th year being cancer-free. I honestly could probably keep finding more and more examples of Kondo giving back to the community, but I think I've already shared enough to show why he's this week's Heidi's Hero.
What a great contributor to the human race. Fighting for all the wounded warriors out there that protect, our rights and our freedom. That's awesome. And my biggest memory from Kondo was right after he snapped the ball, and then I think he ran down the field, and the other team had fumbled, and he jumped in there and he recovered the ball, but he hurt himself. And remember, and then the backup long snapper came in and he couldn't handle it. But I just love that Jon Condo ran in there and put his body on the line, a long snapper,
Yeah.
and recovered that football on special teams. That's the kind of player that shows up on special teams, and that's kind of why it's important to have those players continue to play in the NFL.
I couldn't think of a better honoree for Heidi's Heroes, especially on Memorial Day weekend. And when I think of Jon Condo, I think of something that he said in an interview one time, because he was well known for snapping the ball and then going down and being involved with the tackle. And they asked him about it one time, and he said, my goal is to go until the very end. You go until the whistle. You go hard and you go right until the very end. He said, that's how I live life, and that's how this country is. And I think there's no better way to remember him than with this.
Yeah, he was a great name to come up with, T3, and I really appreciate you reminding me about him. He was a great selection for Memorial Day.
Oh, is that where you got that from?
I did.
I was going to say, damn, T3, you're killing it. I knew you were going to help this podcast.
You reminded me. I love Kondo. He has been he's not Howie or Marcus or Todd Christensen or anyways, but he's definitely one of my more favorite Raiders.
And he's a University of Maryland guy, which is from around here in D.C. where I am. So I've already got my feelers out.
There you go.
Way to be.
There you go.
Stay on the grind. T3, the Gruden Grinder.
Ah.
All right. Well, I think that about wraps it up. Thanks again to our listeners for joining us on the Only Nation podcast. Be sure to listen to our next episode where we will talk about more Raiders news and have more updates for you.
And remember, Raider Nation, be sure to contact us, 904-701-8667. We want to hear from you. Anything you think Homer needs to know or anything like that, just give us a call. And you can email us at theonlynationpodcast@gmail.com. And, of course, follow us on Twitter and Instagram at The Only Nation Pod. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel, The Only Nation Podcast. Also, like and subscribe to us on your favorite social media accounts and podcasting apps. You can also send us your name and address, and we will mail you a free sticker. So until next time, everyone, go Raiders.
Go Raiders.
Stay safe, stay strong, stay passionate, and go Raiders!